Join me as we learn together Chitas for today, Wednesday, the fourth Torah reading of Parshas Mikeitz. Yesterday in the Torah reading we spoke about as Yosef interpreted the dreams that there's going to be 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, and as Yosef marries Osnat, the daughter of Potiphera, and has two children, Ephraim and Menashe. The Torah now continues with what's going on in Egypt. Vatichlena, verse 53. Vatichlena sheva shnei asava. The 7 years of plenty have come to an end. Asher hoya beretz Mitzrayim, that were in the land of Egypt, have now come to pass, and the 7 years of plenty have finished. Verse 54. Vatichilena sheva shnei asava, and sheva shnei arav, and it be 7 years of famine began. Lavoi to come, kasher Omar Yosef, exactly as Yosef predicted they would. Vayihi rav bechol ha'arotzos, and there was a hunger, a famine in all of the other lands. Ubechol eretz Mitzrayim hayalachem. However, throughout Egypt there was bread, thanks to Yosef's storage program. All the other surrounding lands did not have food. There was a famine. However, in the land of Egypt, they had plenty of food. Verse 55. Vatirav kol haaretz. When all of the people of Egypt started becoming hungry, and they were starving. Vayitzik ha'am el Paroi, and the people cried out to Pharaoh for bread, lalochem, to have some bread. Vayomer Paroi elechol Mitzrayim, and Paroi then told all of the Egyptians, and he announced to all of Egypt, lechu el Yosef, go to Yosef, asher yomar lachem tasu. Whatever Yosef tells you to do, follow what he says to do. So, as we look in Rashi tells us, verse 55, Vatiraf kol eretz Mitzrayim. Why, all of a sudden, if they had food and they kept it in storage, why were they starving? Shehir kiva tvuasam sha'atzru, because it got rotten. The wheat that they stored in their storage places got rotten and spoiled. Chutz mishal Yosef, the only wheat that stayed fresh and was usable was the one of Yosef. So though Egypt knew that there was going to be a years of famine, and they stocked up for it, what happened was their warehouses, the stuff went spoiled. Asher yomer lachem tasu, Rashi continues, Lafi, because when the Egyptians came to Yosef for food, and they asked him for food, Yosef told them they have to go and circumcise themselves. Then they came to Pharaoh complaining, this is what Yosef's demands are. And they said, this is what Yosef is demanding from us, that we should circumcise. Omar lahem, Pharaoh told them, if you don't want to circumcise, you are at fault, because you should have put your own storage of food, but you should have food for yourself. Yosef announced, and he said, there's going to be years of hunger, and you should have put aside food. And if you would have listened, then you wouldn't have to listen to Yosef. So the Egyptians told their Pharaoh, Asafnu harbe, we gathered lots of wheat, v'hir kiva, but it all got spoiled. Amar lem. So Pharaoh told him, Imkain, if so, you have no other choice. Kol asher yemer lachem, whatever Yosef tells you, tasu, that's what you got to do if you want to be able to get food. Then you can see that Yosef is in charge because he decreed on the wheat of all of the land, v'hir kiva, that it became spoiled. That means we see this Yosef as a powerful individual. The very fact that everybody else's wheat became spoiled and not his, that means he decreed that it should become spoiled. What happens if he decrees upon us that we die? We might die, so therefore we've got to listen to him, and if we don't want anything worse to happen to us. The interesting thing that the Rebbe asks here is, why is it that Yosef actually told them to circumcise themselves? What benefit did Yosef had from telling the Egyptians to circumcise? And seemingly one can answer that is because Yosef looked back at his grandfather Avram. When God gave Avram the commandment for circumcision, it wasn't just for Avram, but it was all things that Avram acquired. That means all his slaves and maids and all his servants as well. And therefore, in this case, Yosef acquired the Egyptians, as we see later on. They became his servants, and he gave them food, and he gave them wheat that they can plow and sow with. So if so, thereby that obligation of making your servants have circumcision as well was contingent on Yosef to make sure that they have circumcision as well. The Torah now continues with verse 56. V'harav hoya al pnei kol haaretz, and the famine struck all the land, every place. Vayiftach Yosef es kol asher behem, so Yosef opened up the warehouses containing all the grain that he had. Vayishbar leMitzrayim, and he sold it to the Egyptians. Vayechzak harav be'eretz Mitzrayim, and the famine became intensified, even worse, in the land of Egypt. Al pnei kol haaretz, what does the word mean? Al pnei kol haaretz, Rashi tells us. On the face of the earth of the Egypt. What does it mean, the face? Mi heim pnei haaretz, who are the people that are the face of the land? Elu ashirim, these are the rich people that even the wealthy people needed to come to Yosef to get wheat. As kol asher behem, Rashi, ketargumai, like the Targum translate, di behina bura, these warehouses that had the plenty of wheat in them. Vayishbar leMitzrayim, and he sold it to Egypt. Shever. Now the word shever, what does this word actually mean? This can be explained in two ways. Sometimes it means mecher, like a sale, mloshin kinyan, like he purchased something, kan mishamish l'loshin mecher. And over here it's being used in that terminology that Yosef sold the wheat to the Egyptian. As we find in other places, and later on in verse 43, it says, Shivru lanu me'at eichel, sell us a little bit of food. V'al toimar, one should not say, Rashi continues, einoi, that the word shever does not apply only by selling wheat. Af b'yayin v'cholav mitzino, because we find this as well by wine and milk. U'lechu shivru b'lei kasser b'lei mechir yayin v'cholav, as it says in the book Isaiah, and go buy without money and without a price the wine and the milk, meaning how are they going to be able to buy it? And over there you see that the word shever is used as well, not only by wheat, but even by other things as well. Verse 57. The entire region of that area came to Egypt, Lishber el Yosef, to buy produce from Yosef. Because the famine has grown severe in the entire region. Rashi. This verse is not so clear if you put sarseyu. You have to put it in out of order. Uparsheyu, and you have to put it as follows, and this is what it means. That all the people of the surrounding regions came to buy food from Yosef. Because if you're going to explain it literally the way the verse is, then it would have said, Lishber min Yosef, they were going to buy from Yosef. That they're all buying food from Yosef. In fact, what it means, they're coming to Egypt to buy from Yosef. Chapter 42, verse 1. Vayar Yaakov ki yesh shefer b'Mitzrayim, and Yaakov saw that there was produce in Egypt. Vayomer Yaakov levanav, and Yaakov said to his sons, Lama tisro, why are you afraid? Why do you pretend, in this case, and to draw attention to yourself? As we're going to see, Rashi gives us the explanation of what this means, Lama tisro. Verse 1, chapter 42, Rashi. Vayar Yaakov ki yesh shefer b'Mitzrayim. What does it mean that Yaakov saw? Where did he see it from? Where did he see that there was? Where did he see on the news? He didn't see it with his eyes, he only heard it. Shenemer, as it says, he even tells his sons, Hine shemaiti, behold, I heard that there's food in Egypt. Umau, so why does the verse over here say a terminology of Ayar that he saw? So the verse is telling us something deeper here. Bas Baklaria, he saw he saw with the vision, which is divine intervention. That there's still hope in Egypt. This was not a clear divine prophecy, but this was some intuition that he had. To let him know, that means the divine prophecy didn't tell him clearly that it was Yosef in Egypt, but he had some intuition that there's hope for him and his family in the land of Egypt. Lama tisro. What does it mean, the word tisro? Generally, you can translate it as fear, but in this case, it means why are you portraying a given image that's maybe not so? Meaning, as Rashi explains, Lama tiru atzmechem b'fnei Yishmael b'nei Yosef. Why are you showing in front of the people of Yishmael and Yosef, which are our neighbors, Ki'ilu atem sveim, as if you don't need food and you're satiated and you don't have a problem? If you don't have food, why are you making them jealous? If they don't have, and you make as if you have, then you're showing that you have wheat and they don't. However, Rashi says the simple interpretation seems differently. Why should everybody look at you and wonder that you're not asking for food? How do you not have food? You also don't have any wheat. And how come you're not looking around for food? You're not concerned. Why is it that you are not concerned while everybody else is concerned and you also don't have food? And Rashi continues, I heard from others as well. This is a type of terminology of lean. Why are you so weak? Meaning that you don't have any food, and because of that you're hunger, and go buy some food for yourself. We have a similar place in the verse in Mishlei in the book of Proverbs. Umar vegamhu yoira, that other satisfaction will also be satisfied. So you see this terminology where other people are satisfied, and again telling them over here, why are you continuing to show us if you're satisfied when you really don't have food? The question is as well that the Rebbe asks, why is it that the children made as if they have food if they didn't? And the Rebbe points out over here the bitachon, the faith that the children of Yaakov had, that though they did not have food, but they still considered themselves satiated and did not worry for food, because they knew that God would make a miracle and something will happen and eventually they will get the food, that God wouldn't let them go hungry. So over here we see the actual faith that the Jewish people, the 12 tribes of the Yaakov's sons, had, an absolute faith of God, that they had no concern, they did not show any sign of worry or concern, that even Yaakov was worried that how this might portray to the people around them. And he tells the sons, verse 2, Hine shemaiti, behold, I heard ki hashefer b'Mitzrayim, that there is produce in Egypt. Redu shama, go down there, v'shivru lanu misham, and purchase some produce from there. V'nichya, this way will we live, v'lo namus, and we will not die. Verse 2, Redu shama, what is the word redu? And Rashi says that this verse over here is telling us that it's alluding to the V'layomar lechu. He does not say go there, he says go down. Remez l'masayim ve'eser shanim shenishtabdu l'mitzrayim. This is a hint that this now begins the 210 years, that because of this descent to Egypt, this began the 210 years of the Jewish people being in Egypt, as the word redu is numeric value of 210. Verse 3. Vayerdu achei Yosef asara, and the brothers of Yosef, who were 10 individuals, went down to Egypt, lishber bar, to buy grain, mimitzrayim, from Egypt. Verse 3, Vayerdu achei Yosef. Why does he call them over here the brothers of Yosef and not by the sons of Yaakov? V'leikosav b'nei Yaakov. Malamid, it's coming to teach us, shahoyu mischartem b'mchirase, because they regretted the fact that they sold Yosef. And therefore they decided, they resolved that from now on, should they find him, they will treat him with love as brothers should. That if should they find that Yosef was taken as a captive and they would need to give money to be able to release him, they would expend any money that's needed to be able to redeem him and bring him back. Asara, why 10? Ma Talmud Lamer, why does the Torah has to tell us that the 10 of them? If it says later on, that Binyamin was not sent, so if I do the calculation, Yosef is gone, Binyamin's not being sent, I know 2 minus 12 minus 2 equals 10. Ella, it's coming to teach us that concerning the love to one another, when it came to their relationship to Yosef, there were differences of opinion. That the love and the hatred for them was not the same. That means when it came to the idea of how the relationship was with Yosef, it may have not been all aligned and it may have not been the same. However, when it came to the concept that they had to buy and purchase food, all of them came with the same intent to purchase that food. Vayavayu b'nei Yisrael lishber, and the children of Israel came, the children of Yaakov came to, verse 4. Ves Binyamin achi Yosef, and however Binyamin, the brother of Yosef, l'shalach Yaakov es Echav, Yaakov did not send with his brothers. Ki Omar, he said, Pen yikra'enu asein, lest some disaster befall him. Pen yikra'enu asein, why was he concerned about a disaster, and at home no disaster is going to happen to him? Babayis lo yikra'enu asein, Rashi says, and in his home there won't be any disaster. But Rashi continues and says, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov said, Mikan, from here we know, Sha'asata mikatrik b'sha'as sakana, that the Satan comes and he prosecutes in a time of travel, in a time of danger, and being that travel is a time of danger, because of that, and as we know, the Medrash says that all travels, all roads are prone to danger, and because of that, Yaakov said, let him stay home, and therefore the less chance of him being affected or hurt. Verse 5, Hayavoyu b'nei Yisrael, and the sons of Israel came, Lishbar, to buy produce, Pesach Habayim, amongst all the other people that came to buy food as well. Ki hoya rav beretz Canaan, because the famine continued and extended to the land of Canaan as well. Rashi, Pesach Habayim, what does it mean amongst the people that came? Matminim atzmam, they hid themselves amongst all the other people, shalei yakirum, so they should not be identified or recognized. Lefi shetziva lehem avim shalei Yisro. Their father told them that they shouldn't gain too much attention and show up. Kulam b'pesach echad, all at one entranceway. Each one should take another entrance into the land of Egypt, so that a bad eye should not affect them. Because they're all good-looking, handsome, and very strong. Now he continues and says, why did they have to come? So the Torah tells us, why did all the people, that means why were there many people coming to Egypt to purchase food? Musaf alaboyim, saying, why were there many people coming to Egypt? Because the famine extended to the land of Canaan. And many different caravans and groups of people were coming from the land of Canaan to buy food in Egypt. Verse 6, and Yosef was the viceroy of the land. He was the one that was selling and sold the produce to all the people of the region. Vayavoyu achi Yosef, and the brothers of Yosef came, and they bowed down to him, apayim orza, before him with their faces to the ground. Rashi, vayishtachu lo apayim, nishtatchu lo lapneihem, they bowed down with their faces to the ground in front of him. Anytime we find the concept of bowing in the verse, means pishut yodayim v'raglayim, absolute lying on the ground with their hands and feet outstretched, with their face touching the ground. Verse 7. Vayar Yosef Esechav, and Yosef saw his brothers. Vayakirim, and he recognized them. Vayisnaker aleihem, and he acted like a stranger towards them. Vayidaber itam koshes, and he spoke to them harshly. Vayomer aleim, and he says to them, Me'ayin basem, from where did you come? Vayomer, when they responded, Me'eretz Canaan, we are from the land of Canaan. Lishber eichel, to buy some food. Rashi, Vayakar Yosef, Yosef recognized them, but they did not recognize him. Lafi shenicham, when he left them, which was almost 12 years ago, chasume zakein, his brothers had a beard, but he did not have a beard, and therefore, though he recognized them, v'heim lo yikiru, they did not recognize sheyatzami etzlam b'lei chasim zakein, that they left him, he did not have a beard. V'achshav, and now they see this individual b'chasim zakein with a beard. Umedrash Agada, the Medrash says, Vayakar Yosef Esechav, Yosef recognized his brothers, Keshenimtzru b'yadei. These were the brothers that were now given over to him when he needed their kindness. They did not recognize it, but now he recognized that they were his brothers and he needs to help them. However, they did not recognize him, when it came their chance to show some love to him. They did not recognize him as a brother. However, he did recognize them as a brother now to help them in their time of need. The words, also the commentaries, Chassidus explains why did the brothers not recognize Yosef, because they never would have imagined in their wildest imagination that their brother who they were shepherds and therefore stayed away from the public arena, stayed away from commerce and materialism. This way they would be able to devote themselves and serve God. They would never imagine that their brother Yosef would be the viceroy of Egypt, involved in the greatest materialistic items in dealing and selling the things that are needed in Egypt. The Torah now continues, verse 8. As we said, Vayakar Yosef Esachav, Yosef recognized his brothers, Vahimli Yikiru, but they did not recognize him, as we mentioned. Why? That he recognized them as they had a beard. They did not recognize him as he had a beard, and when he left them, he did not have a beard. Verse 9. Vayiskar Yosef Esachaloimus, and Yosef remembered the dreams. Asher Cholol Mahem, that he dreamt about them, Vayemer Aleim, and he tells them, Miragli Matem, you are spies. Liray says, you have come to see the land and how it's vulnerable. Basem was the reason you came here. Asher Cholam Lahem, Rashi tells us what it means that he dreamt. Aleihim, about them. And now, and now he sees that the dreams that he had 12 years ago now came to fruition because they all bowed down before him. Ervas ha'aretz, what does it mean, ervas ha'aretz? Gilui ha'aretz, the places that are open, that are vulnerable. From where it's easy to conquer it. Kemoi, for example, we find this in other places in the book of Vayikra when it talks about the inappropriate relationships. It says, Es mekoira hera, its source he revealed, that they were naked, meaning they were revealed. Anytime we find the word erva, it comes to tell us, Lashon Gilu, a place of supposed to be covered that was revealed. Targum Unkelos, Bid Ka'ara, the Unkelos says, in the breaks in the land, and the same place we find Bedek Abayis. Ru'ua means, when we talk about when they had to fix the Holy Temple, they use the terminology, Ru'ua, it was weak of the home, that therefore it had to be fixed. Aval, however, the source of the word erva, the meaning to reveal, Unkelos was not careful to make sure that it was exact towards the interpretation of the verse. And the brothers say to Yosef, Lo yadoini, no my master, no my lord. Va'avodecha bo lishparechel, your servants, we your servants have just come here to buy food. Rashi, Lo yadoini, lo yitomar kain. Don't say that we're spies and we're here to see your vulnerabilities. Sh'de'avodecha bo lishparechel, we're only here to buy some food. Verse number 11. Kulanu b'nei ish echad nachnu, we are all the sons of the same man. Keinim anachnu, we are truthful men. Lo hayu avadecha meraglim, your servants have never been spies. Rashi 11. Kulanu b'nei ish echad nachnu. Over here, the brothers of Yosef, when they said these words, nitznitza behem ruach hakodesh, they were saying a spark of divine intuition and ruach hakodesh, while they did not even realize it. And he agreed with them. Sha'afu ben aviyim. We are all part of the same family. We are all sons of the same man. Not realizing what they were telling Yosef. Kainim. What does the word Kainim mean? Amitim, truth. Kain dibarta. This is true what you said. Kain ben Slavcha deveres. It is correct and true what the daughters of Slavcha said. Vavrasile came badav, as well as Isaiah said, that his anger is not a true anger. Verse 12. And Yosef says, no, loy, this is not true. You have come to see the land that is vulnerable. That's what you came to check out. Verse 12. How do I know that you are spies? Because you came through 10 different gateways. Why didn't you just come in through one gateway? Meaning you went all the different ways to see where's the vulnerable parts that you can conquer the land. Verse 13. When they said, no, we are 12, your servants are 12 brothers, all born from one man, from one father. It's Canaan, in the land of Canaan. The youngest one is with our father, and one is gone missing. Verse 13, Rashi, this was the response that the brothers were saying, why they separated into 12 different ones. Because we're missing one, we think that maybe he's in the land of Egypt, so we scattered so we can all search because we want to bring that one back home. Verse 14. Yosef, and Yosef tells them, Hu asher dibarti aleichem. This is what I told you. Miraglim atem, you are spies. Hu asher dibarti, what Rashi explains, meaning what you're telling me is not true. Hadavar asher dibarti, what I said to begin with. Sha'ata miraglim, that you are spies. Hu emes vanochin. That's what's true and correct, not what you're saying. Zel, if pshute, this is the simple interpretation. Medrashe, the Medrash says, Amar Lami said as follows. Yosef tells his brothers, you came to look for your brother, and if you would find them, and they're going to ask for a lot of money, tiftu, will you redeem him? Will you buy him back? Amrullah, they told Yosef, hein, of course. Amar Lem, so he said to them, and what happens if they tell you, you find your brother, and no money in the world, are you going to let him go? What are you going to do then? Amrullah, they said, lekach banu, that's why we came. Larik eleharek, either we get killed, or we're going to kill others. That means we're not going to leave without our brother. And we're going to either kill the person, or we're going to have to put our lives on the line to make sure we get our brother back. Amar lahem. So Yosef says to them, if so, hu asher dibarti aleichem, this is exactly what I told you. Larik b'nei hir basam, you came to kill the people here. Therefore I know, and I know that you can do it, because I have magic, that I can look with my cup, and I can also know that it tells me, the two of you already, you already destroyed the city of Shechem. So you guys are prone to killing people, and if you don't get what you want. So therefore I know that you guys are spies. The only way that I will put the test on the life, I swear by the life of Pharaoh, if you will leave from here, if you bring your youngest brother with you back the next time you come. And therefore, what does he say? Rashi, verse 15. This will be, I swear by Pharaoh. When if you were swearing falsely, when he needs to swear, he doesn't use God's name, because when he wants to take an oath which shouldn't have strong validity, he uses Pharaoh's name. And Teitzum is that. What does it mean from here? Minamakim is that, from this place. And therefore he tells them as follows, verse 16. Shilchu mikem, send from here echad, one of you can go. Send one of yours. And let him bring your younger brother back. Meanwhile, the rest of you, we will imprison you. We'll take you into custody. And we'll see if indeed your words are true. If you're saying the truth. If not, I swear by Pharaoh that you are spies. The word over here, the hey, is not a hey, a yediyah. It's not like the, it's if. Im emes itchem, if the truth is with you. Lefichach, hey, nakut patach, therefore it has a patach by it. Ha emes itchem, shukamei b'lashen tema, like in a word, in a question. Vimloi, to you, if you won't bring him, hey pare, I swear by pare, kimirag lamatam, that by no doubt you guarantee that this is true, that you are spies. And Yosef gathered them and put them in custody for 3 days, put them in detention for 3 days. Verse 17, Mishmar Beis Asurim, the place of the prison. Verse 18, and Yosef takes them out on the 3rd day and says to them as follows, Zoisasu, this is what you're going to do, that you will be able to live. Esalikim aniyarei. And that is because I am a God-fearing person. You can trust me because I am a God-fearing person. Verse 17, there's no Rashi's on verse 18, which this concludes the Torah reading for Wednesday, the 4th Torah reading of Parshas Mikeitz.